His tail is crafty and his eyes are pure. We think he's a beaver, but he's not quite sure. Severely depressed and he thinks he's a bore. And now he's crying on the bathroom floor. But the question is, does it even matter? 'Cause now you're watching Chip Chatter.
Hello, and welcome back to Chip Chatter. Last episode we questioned the very nature of Chip's existence. Today, I will take you on a tour of Chip's damaged psyche. We begin where we left, with Chip alone, crying on the bathroom floor, where he has been all night. He lay there limply, uselessly, like a left glove with no chiral counterpart. Inside, his mind was a battlefield with no clear winner. The kingdoms of anger and sadness warred for dominance, their spears piercing his eye sockets, making him bleed tears. Chip, lost in the swirling darkness of his own emotions, stood up as if to say, "I can sit here no longer." Like a cheetah, but without feet, he was ready to run, or rather, bounce. He could no longer content himself to the stillness of sorrow. Slowly, Chip sauntered down the hallway, passing by those he had once seen as friends. But they were not his friends. They had never been, and now their voices amounted to little more than leaves swirling in a heavy wind as he entered the gust. Silently, he went down the staircase. Though the ongoing battle in his mind was anything but silent, Chip felt like a 2-year-old bottle of Diet Coke that had been left in the back corner of the pantry, still fizzing and ready to explode at the drop of a Mento. Had his whole life been nothing but a lie? What did life even mean for a beaver with no internal organs, if he was even a beaver at all? Appendixless, he walked on. The day was bright, unlike his outlook on life. And though the smell of honeysuckle filled the air, Chip himself was filled with anger. And then the Mento fell. On the outside, Chip remained unchanged, but inside there was a pop, a fizzle, and then the explosion. The recesses of his mind filled with the foamy overflow of Chip's rage, every corner bathing in his seething anger. It was a sharp, pulsating thing, a harsh jet stream aimed at the cruelty of the world. Why? Why must he be made to suffer? What had he done in all his years to deserve such misfortune? No friends, no business, no identity. If Chip could not call himself a beaver, what was he? Why couldn't the answers be simple, black and white? Why must the world be consumed with, defined with, so many shades of gray? No matter how many times he asked, how hard he looked, Chip could not find an answer. And he still kept looking, kept asking, like a child fruitlessly banging on a piano, producing the same dissonant note clusters over and over and over again, all in the search of some beautiful melody. It all felt so draining, like clambering into the car after surgery, the anesthesia still heavy on the mind, and the bruising of the foot not to be discovered until the next day. If Chip had bones, they would be aching. If Chip had veins, the blood would be coursing through them, and even though he didn't have tear ducts, he was crying. Chip approached a river. It sparkled like a bowl of cream of wheat in the sun, or like a river, which is what it was. Chip saw his reflection, a beaver of sadness, and he wanted to walk into the water. But he was allergic to water. How could he be a beaver if he was allergic to water? And how could he be happy if he had never felt loved? Love is a minute of frog noises, but Chip had never heard so much as a croak. Unless, of course, he was a frog. But there was no way he could be sure. Trudging on, we had no more prepared quotes to be included. We were flying blind and stressed and running out of budget. Our high-quality, low-quality production was meant to tell you about Chip's emotional state, so we allow you now, as words totally can't describe what he was feeling, a moment to hear his thoughts. Ahead, in the not-so-far-off distance, Chip saw that he was coming up on a cornfield, and even though the surging waterfall of his own emotional turmoil, he felt a sense of relief. The smell of the dirt, if he could have smelled it, was one of comfort. It had been a journey, and though this was not his final destination, it was a cornfield, Chip felt he could stay a while. After a while, even as he knew that he was in a cornfield in the middle of the Midwest, he felt as though he'd been scuba diving, and he knew that all too soon he'd have to resurface after diving through the emotional oceans, and though it was necessary, it filled him with dread. The anticipation of the too warm surface, the buoyancy of the ascent, the unpredictability of the water as it tossed him to and fro. But perhaps he'd also feel a sense of relief, a sense of normalcy. But what was normalcy for Chip? I'm Bob, and this has been Chip Chatter.
Thanks for watching Chip Chatter.